with Star Cell, a show that I've been meaning to watch since 2021, but it wasn't until 3 years later that I finally got it to watch it. So what happened here? Why did it take me so long to watch it? Well, I'll answer that, as well as explaining the history of the Path with Star Cell, the quintessence in it, and my daily experience with the cell. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. Before I can discuss the Path with Star Cell, we need some context regarding the SpongeBob Phantoms stats on the spin-offs. All the way back in November 2018, SpongeBob fans throughout the globe mourn over Steven Hilbert's passing. If you don't know, Hilbert was the one who brought our favorite yellow sponge to life. So to have him pass away set the entire world apart. And even Nickelodeon was upset. So much that they made a tribute about him. Now this is surprising considering that the number is where infamous for mistreating themselves. Then again, this is SpongeBob we're talking about. So maybe there's a bias going on here. So SpongeBob fans more and more until they have accepted their losses and move on with their lives. Well, most of them. A few months later, Nickelodeon announced 2 new SpongeBob spin-offs coming in 2021. They are called Cat Chrono, which has a style, and the Path with Star Cell, where Patrick hosts his Benigni Star Cell. And well, what a release it was, SpongeBob has been running since the late 1990s, so it was about time for them to have spin-offs. However, while some fans were thrilled about the announcement, others were not. Some say that Nickelodeon is abusing the SpongeBob IP to make money, while the others say that the spin-offs are disrespecting the creators' wishes. Experience interviews allegedly showing Hilbert's dismay as evidence.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
While I do agree that Nickelodeon is melted the SpongeBob IP, I also don't know much about how these companies work. So, unfortunately, I can't say any more here. Now, let's discuss the claim that Hilbert was allegedly against SpongeBob's business. I keep on seeing this as personal, when in reality, he didn't say that. According to this interview, Hilbert says that he didn't expect SpongeBob spin-offs, but the fans has misinterpreted that as him being against them instead. Like, I know that they're well meaning and all, but they were putting words into a dead man's mouth. And if that was bad enough, then that running away potential viewers was worse. Back in 2019, I was curious to see how these SpongeBob spin-offs could stand out for the main show. And it's more SpongeBob content. But after seeing how fans felt about them, I feel like I need to support them. or else I would get drawn off the building otherwise. It's as if these spells were taboo, something we shouldn't talk about because they're evil. And after experiencing a severe incident a few months back, I simply cannot afford to deal with another one. So I avoid the spell-offs and the backlash like the plague. Finally, I was free. But was I though? Even though I fled with the backlash, I was still miserable. Like, why? Well, it turns out that running away from your problems is as bad as just sit down. By failing to speak up, I was unintentionally causing harm to everyone involved. They think that I don't care about them, which makes me feel bad. So after 3 years of silence, I took the plunge and finally watched the SpongeBob spin-offs. Now I wasn't too keen on Cat Chrono, but I was with the Path with Star Cell. So let's start with that. Can you guess what episode that I watched first? You may think that I would start with the first episode, but that would have been an awful idea. I heard from fans that the first couple of episodes were that good, the characters weren't likable, the animation was stiff, and the humor just puts people to sleep. It's as if the sad team know what they were doing. So I wouldn't blame you if you saw watching the show at that point, because it was a complete mess. But what if I tell you that the path to Star Cell did get better?
What? What?
Yeah, by stroke of luck, the wire went into a massive overhaul in late season 1. The characters became more likable, the animation became more lively, and the humor no longer puts people to sleep. This was enough to win fans over to the point that some say that it's better than modern SpongeBob nowadays. So after hearing this, I decided to start with late season 1 instead of the beginning. Now, there are so many good episodes to watch, but I basically picked Fun and Done because I thought it would be a good idea to pick one with the characters that we know of. Well, I was one, but I would be right if that put me off for watching the entire show. Now that would be so silly. So without further ado, here's my first impression of Fun and Done. Okay, I might have forgotten to read the synopsis beforehand, so I was very confused about what was going on at the beginning. It turns out that the episode is about Patrick as SpongeBob to Andy, a boring kid. I'm not being rude here. He really is that boring. This makes me question about how his parents treated him. But regardless of the reason, Patrick and SpongeBob want to erase the kids' imagination no matter what. Now that's sweet, but how can they do that? How can these childlike adults erase Andy's imagination? Well, they went inside his head to do that, of course. Oh boy, it's one of those moments, huh? It's not like I have never seen someone go inside their head before. Well, will it be my favorite anime calendar? Of course not. Sorry about that. I have a moment there. Anyway, I'll have to take back what I said about SpongeBob and Patty's imagination being headed because Eddie's easy takes the cake for that. This is our Ferris wheel, seahorses with hearts, and whatever this night perfume is a fantastic and beautiful sight, but it's far too much. Even Patrick as Puspa said that was too much.
I hate to say this, but do you think there could be such a thing as too much fun?
So it's a good thing that they still add these imagination away, because I will have a sensory overwhelm if I continue looking at this for any longer. Phew. Now I do understand why his mother was against overstaying in her tile, but still, having him be emotionless isn't good either. There needs to be a balance, and that's about it. Fun and that is fine. It's just your usual pathway as SpongeBob adventure, but I ain't complaining. I enjoyed the episode we called. Wait a minute. Something isn't right here. Do you smell it? That smell. A kind of smelly smell. A smelly smell that smells smelly. A lesson? What? Father Todd gave me a good lesson. Believe it or not, this Pathway Star Cell episode taught me about the dangers of overstimulation, especially for children. If a child experienced too much sensory input, then they would get ACEs, irritated, or even become out of control. This is because their minds do not have a fully developed amygdala to handle it. So it's up to the caretaker to help their child cope with their overwhelming feelings. Doing this will help them express their emotions without feeling judged, and therefore it increases their confidence. So it's a win-win situation. Now, I should note that people with certain mental illnesses can nearly affect their amygdala as well. So, if you have a disabled friend who is experiencing sensory overwhelm, then you should support them. Because if you judge them for whatever reason, then it will make this worse for them in the progress. So it is important to be mindful of that. Hey, that sounded familiar. And that is because I was not playing nor attending any staff members in this canteen. Rather, I was just explaining why this episode works. Like, we are allowed to put our flaws in a story, but we shouldn't judge anyone for making them. These SpongeBob spin-offs are part of our lives now, and we should treat them as such. Just pretending that they do not exist only leads to further misery for everyone. In fact, these last few years has shown me that we all are connected in some way. Anything we say or do to others will reflect back at us. Call someone good, then you will feel good. Call someone bad, then you will feel bad. It's just that simple. But unfortunately, not many people know this because they think that having feelings makes you evil, when it's only a thing to be aware of. So the sooner you accept your feelings, the better. As for the Pathway Star Cell, I'm looking forward to watching it more whenever I have spare time. The humor and visuals do remind me of Gumball, which still helped me get me comfortable with my first episode. Now, whether the path to Star Cell because a favorite of mine, or is it pure sensory overload, is up to me. But for now, I stick through with the main SpongeBob cell. Speaking of which, if you want to see me explain another SpongeBob episode with imagination, then you can watch this video on screen. And with that being said, I will see you stars in the sky tonight.